Hi, this is Mrs. McGreevy, and this is a SketchUp introduction that I put together for you. When you're looking at this introduction, I don't want you to watch it all the way through and then try to do it on your own. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to watch it in a window and then in another window have SketchUp open and try these things that I'm showing you in your own window. This isn't for you to watch and then try to remember all of it. It's for you to watch and play with SketchUp at the same time. It'd be even better if you could watch it on one computer and play with SketchUp on your computer and then just pause it when you need to try something or if you need to go back and listen to something again. So good luck.
Hi there, this is Mrs. McGreevy, and I'm going to talk to you today about how to use SketchUp to make buildings. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by going to our search bar and opening SketchUp, or you could open SketchUp from, if it does, that's no big deal. Most of the menus should be pretty close to being the same. So we open up to this menu, and I'd like to point out a couple things here. In this menu, as you can see, you can watch video tutorials. Now after we're done with today, you might want to keep learning new things about SketchUp and how to make new different kinds of buildings and use different kinds of tools that we don't get a chance to cover today. And this is a great resource to do that with. But what we're going to start with is to start using SketchUp, we want to make sure that we're all looking at the same thing. So we're going to go to Choose Template. And in the templates, there are a variety of different measurement tools that we could use in different views. But let's go ahead and start with a simple template, and let's start with inches. Here I go, and I've got a little space going on here with my wonderful little lady. And because I'm not really interested in having people in my scene, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this lady. So up on the toolbar, this arrow is a select arrow. And so I took the arrow and I selected the lady, and I could just use my delete key. Now she's gone. The first thing I'd like to do with you is I'd like to talk about how we can move this view that we have. And if you look up here, this tool that's got the arrows, the blue arrows, is called the Orbit tool. And what that allows us to do is if we select and then use our mouse to drag, or just our touchpad to drag while we're holding down the mouse key, then we can move our view all around. So go ahead and get yourself so that you're kind of looking down upon the axes. And at the same time, a different tool that we can use, this hand tool, allows us to grab and pan through a scene. So I'm going to make it so that blue vertical axis is right in the middle. Alright, so I've got my screen kind of where I want it. And the first thing I'd like to do with you is I'd like to draw a rectangle. So up on this menu, there's a variety of different tools. Let's look at them. This tool, this pencil tool, allows you to draw a line. This tool allows you to draw a rectangle, a circle, an arc. We're going to start with a rectangle. So anywhere on here, go ahead and just draw a rectangle. When you're using SketchUp, you almost always want to click to start and let go, and then drag, and then click to finish. So there we go, we drew a rectangle. And this rectangle automatically kind of matches up with our X, Y axes, or the floor axes. What we'd like to do now is I'd like to show you how to turn this two-dimensional rectangle into a three-dimensional box. So some more tools on the menu that we're going to use. Here's a ruler tool, a paint tool, but for right now, we're going to use this push-pull tool is what it's called. And what this allows us to do is it allows us to take any two-dimensional figure and pull it up to create a three-dimensional figure. So go ahead and look all around right now. You can pull around, you can look, it's got a bottom, it's got a top. We just made a box out of this two-dimensional rectangle. And I might be curious, okay, how long are the sides of this box? So if I take my ruler tool, you notice that it will snap onto the edge. And when it snaps onto the edge, what I mean is that it's putting the edge of the ruler right on the edge of your box for you, and it says on edge. You know it's there. So I'm going to click, and I'm going to measure down to the other side. You notice how that the measuring tool is a green line now? That means that when it's a green line, it means that it's parallel to the axis that is the base of this box here, which is what we want really, to measure the accurate width of the box. So notice it's telling us that this box is 6 feet 9 3/8 inches. It's kind of a funny width for a box. And what if I was going to build a house? Then I might want to have an exact width that I could use. And so what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and delete this box because I want to kind of try again. So notice that when I select, I'm using this select tool, I can select one side at a time and delete. But it only deletes that literal side that I selected. So now I've deleted 2 of the sides and the top, but it's even still got these supporting braces here. So one trick that I do if I want to get rid of everything and start over again, I just press Apple A, select all, and then delete. And it's gone. Voila. Not so good if you don't want to delete everything in the scene, but if you do want to delete everything, that's one way to do it. So I'd like to show you how to make a rectangle that has exact specifications in terms of things like length and width. So I'm going to start somewhere, it doesn't matter where. I selected a value, and I just pull out my rectangle a little bit there. Now let's say I want to make a house that is 25 feet long by 40 feet long. If I go down to this dimensions box, right now it's telling me what the length and width of this rectangle that I have are. My length is right now 15 feet, 9 1/16 inch. My width is 2 feet, 2 1/16 of an inch. So I'd like to make this, I'm going to say 25 feet, and the abbreviation for feet is an apostrophe. And then comma, that's so I'm telling it how long I want it to be, 25 feet, and I want it to be 40 feet wide. So I'm going to do 40 and an apostrophe, and then I push enter. And wow, look at that. I can't even see my whole rectangle because it's so big. So I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of zooming and panning. And I don't know if I told you this, but you can zoom out by using this tool, by using this little magnifying glass tool. You can hold your cursor and drag. But if you just take 2 fingers on the touchpad, if you have on your laptop, and you pull them towards you, it will zoom out, and if you push them away from you, it will zoom in. So just go ahead and make it so that your rectangle is kind of centered in your axes, and you can see the whole thing. Alright, so we've got a rectangle now. Oh gosh, I can't remember. What are the length and width of this rectangle? Well, if I forgot, I can just take my ruler, go on edge. Pretty sure, yeah, so 25. And if you want to get rid of the measurement you're doing, you can just press escape by 40. Okay, so I've got my rectangle that's 25 by 40. And let's say I want to make it a 1-story house that has a 10-foot high ceiling. Now notice that when I select this box, it has those little blue pixels in it. That lets me know that that's what I'm working with now, which isn't a big deal now because we only have one shape in our scene, but we are going to end up having a lot more complicated scenes, and you need to be really careful that you're selecting the thing that you want to select. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this box and we're going to drag it up, and I want it to be exactly 10 feet. So I can drag, and I can kind of look in my bottom right hand corner and see when I get to 10 feet. Oh, I went over. Oh, I went under. You know, but if that's too hard, I can just type in, I didn't even have to select the distance box. I can just type in 10 feet, push enter, it did it for me automatically. Super duper. Alright, and so now, when I look around, I've got my 25 by 40 foot box, and it's got 10 feet high. So this, this could be a little building. Maybe I'm making like a little house. This is what we can make. It's a little house that people live in. It's lovely. Okay, but one problem with this house is we live in Maine, right? And when you live in Maine, if you have a house like this with a flat roof, what happens with a house with a flat roof? That's right, snow. Snow happens, heavy snow, and this roof caves in, and then you lose all your stuff. So that's no good. So what we need to do is we need to make a pitched roof. So let me show you how to make a pitched roof. What we're going to do is we're going to take our ruler tool, and we're going to indicate where the peak of the roof should be. And usually the peak of the roof goes from the middle of one side of the roof to the middle of the other side of the roof. Now, with this pencil tool, without clicking, notice that if you just hover over different parts, the SketchUp automatically, it knows that you want to start on an edge. If you hover over different parts, it'll tell you this is an endpoint. That means it's a corner of that roof. And it stays on the edge. And when it turns blue there and it says it's the midpoint, that's the midpoint of that side of the roof. So we're going to start at that midpoint, and we'd like to go to the other midpoint. And so it will kind of take us there. It'll default to take us there. We could go somewhere else with it if we wanted, but we don't really want to. And so now what I've kind of drawn here is I've drawn where I want the peak of the roof to be. And so now what I have to do is I have to, well, raise the roof. So if you can imagine with a roof with this line down the middle, if we could just take that line and pull it up, then it would create the peak that we wanted. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this tool. This tool is called the Move tool. It allows us to move things. And we want to move just this line. We want to move just this line, and we want to pull this line up in the air, and it will pull the walls with it. You'll see how that works. And so what I'd like to do is I'd like to pull it up.
So we just lifted up the eave here, but you notice I'm not entirely sure that I was able to lift it up and make it directly centered. So that what I mean is that I'm not sure that when I selected this that I didn't make it kind of skewed like this. See how skewed that is? So what I can do is, going back to the original, you can use Control-Z to undo the move that you just did. When I pull this up, I've got this indicator line here, and notice that like most of the time it's black, but at a certain point it's blue. And when it's blue, it means that it's parallel. The line from the roof down to the bottom directly under is parallel to the blue axes, or the vertical axes. So I want to keep it on that snap to the blue axes to make sure that it's evenly distributed on the left and the right. So now, maybe I'll zoom back and see a little bit, but now I've made a perfectly, a perfect set of roof there.